Full edition of For Fantasy's Sake on Thanksgiving, no less. My name is Michael Sicoli. I'm here with Riley Millett, a newcomer to For Fantasy's Sake. This is brought to you by the Mobile Party Experience, a great choice for any of that tailgating you want to do. And obviously, with For Fantasy's Sake, you follow the FSQC. You follow me at Michael _Sicoli or Michael __ Sicoli. Follow Riley. What's your handle, Riley?
It's Riley _Millett. Why do you have two underscores?
Because Michael Sicoli was taken. So what can I do? All right. I'm here for because I'm thankful. I'm thankful, Riley, because today is Thanksgiving. And it's Thanksgiving football. We got 3 terrible games, but fantasy relevant games. But that's why we're also going to spice this up. We're going to start it off with a quick question. We're going to dive into football, and we're going to end with an amazing Thanksgiving food draft. And that's something that nobody wants to miss, so stay tuned for that. Riley has terrible taste in food. I have great taste in food. So you get to see which one is better. You could tune in, comment. It'll be great. So without further ado, what is your Thanksgiving tradition you like, Riley? What is your Millett Thanksgiving tradition?
I know touch football is kind of a bigger thing in other families, but we like cornhole. We do a lot of cornhole in the Millett family. And we have a more crowded Thanksgiving this year than we usually do. We got folks coming in from out of town from Cape Cod, so it's gonna be a big cornhole tournament. I'm sad you're gonna miss it, Mike, because I know you're a big cornhole guy.
Was I invited?
No.
Exactly. So I mean, you're sad you're gonna miss it, but you didn't invite me. So I'm like, I'm hurt, But cornhole's a fun one. Cornhole's a fun one. I haven't played that since the summer, but for me personally, I know it's I make stuffing with my brothers and my brothers, my mom, and my grandmother the night before. It's a tradition we've done forever. We make the stuffing, we get Chinese food after, and then my grandma sleeps over for Thanksgiving. It's a delight. Well, you're not cooking. I saw those eyes shoot up.
Yeah,
for Thanksgiving.
That just kind of threw me for a loop right there. I wasn't really expecting that, but
what threw you for a loop?
Getting Chinese food on Thanksgiving, like on Thanksgiving Day, you get Chinese food.
Also, day before Thanksgiving. Sorry.
Okay, all right. No, that's
Thanksgiving doesn't make any sense. I got family downstairs right now, but I'm here doing what's really pretty important as well. I almost just said the most important, and my family would have killed me. But I'm here getting this one done because that's what I care about. So, yeah, no, without further ado, honestly, I guess, do you have any other parting remarks before we could jump into the worst game of this slate?
I just want to talk about the worst game of the slate, really.
Then without further ado, let's jump into Chicago versus the Lions. Yay! Thank you, NFL. The 3-7 Chicago Bears taking on the 0-9-1 Detroit Lions. I believe the Lions are 3-point underdogs in this at home. It's not going to be a pretty one to watch, but there are names to consider. There are fantasy players that you will have in your lineups. You have Dave Montgomery in your lineup. You have Darnell Mooney potentially in your lineup. Marquise Goodwin caught a long touchdown last week. People were streaming Cole Kmet. The Chicago DST is always in play. The Deandre Swift owners are happy. DJ Hawkinson's been a whole roller coaster. So where to start with this, Riley? Where do you want to start?
I want to start with the most important player in this game, the guy who is locked into your lineup no matter what, and that's Deandre Swift. I mean, he's just been outstanding this week, or this year rather, especially if you're in a PPR league. He's at RB5 in PPR right now, and I don't see any of that changing, especially after the loss of Khalil Mack and the return of Jared Goff. I mean, when I was thinking about it earlier, and I was saying, is there a reason for Jared Goff to be in this game if he's not 100% healthy? So I don't know of any snap incentives for more money on his contract or anything like that. So I imagine that as long as he's 100% healthy on that oblique injury that's kept him out, that he's going to be in this game 100% healthy, which means great things for Deandre Swift. He's getting force-fed double-digit targets every week, and that's really all you can ask for as a Deandre Swift owner, and especially in a game that you think might be close. The spread's only 2.5 for this game. He's just their best playmaker, and when you're in close games like the Lions have been in all year long for the majority of the time, you put the ball in your best playmaker's hands.
We saw a real, switch flip last week, because last week Dan Campbell decided, it's time to get involved in play calling, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. But either way, for the last week or two, Dan Campbell's throwing himself in play calling, and then we saw Deandre Swift's volume shoot up, and it was totally great to begin with. And maybe you could say it's a product of Jamal Williams being out. We saw him return last week, and maybe he's just working himself back into it. But I tend to lean that, bite the knees off Campbell wants to get DeAndre Swift the ball. So DeAndre Swift's going to be a lock-in play. I think we're both expecting RB1 numbers from him with confidence. But, I mean, we can move on to let's stay on the line side of the ball. I think we do expect Jared Goff to come back. He might be a shaky fly in super flex leagues as your QB2, maybe, because that Chicago secondary has been beatable. And as you said, Khalil Mack won't be rushing him. But who else? Is there anyone else you're really willing to play? Are you willing to play TJ Hawkinson after the season he's had?
The mindset I had going into this game is that you're confidently starting one line in Deandre Swift. I'm hesitantly starting TJ Hawkinson just because I spent that draft capital on him. What was he, a 5th-round pick coming into the season? Who am I going to stream over him? There are no streaming options, especially this week, that I'm willing to play over TJ Hawkinson. So I'll put him in my lineup and hope he has 5 catches for 60 yards or something like that. And I'm also hesitantly willing to start Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been my favorite wide receiver on the Bears this year, or not on the Bears, on the Lions. And his target share has been there over the last week. Since week 4, he's had consistently 6, 7, 8 targets. And even though he kind of disappeared last week against the Browns, that was the game that, was kind of game scripted out. And I think he's just the most talented wide receiver in that room. You look at Josh Reynolds, who they just brought in, 2 weeks ago. And, I used to think he was a replaceable level wide receiver. He's just not going to get the job done in terms of fantasy. Same thing with Khalif Raymond, who kind of blew up for 17, 18-point games about a month ago in the season. He's not getting it done for fantasy either. And, back when Jared Goff was healthy, those targets were going to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And, like week 4, 5, 6, when he was scoring double-digit points in PPR. So I think that's what we're going to see a little bit more of this week. In terms of a Lions that I'm not starting, Jamal Williams, to me, coming into the season was a very interesting flex play. Even though we were all confident that DeAndre Swift was going to command a heavy workload, which I was of that demographic. I'm a DeAndre Swift owner in Dynasty. I'm entirely confident in his skill, but I made it a point to acquire Jamal Williams because I thought he had standalone flex value, and I think that's gone. I think now that DeAndre Swift has totally taken control of this backfield, Jamal Williams hasn't had more than 3 targets since week 1 against San Francisco. So I think Jamal Williams should stay on your bench for the meantime.
Yeah. Williams is the touches you get, they aren't valuable touches. And that's something you come to learn in fantasy, that there are touches and then there's touches that matter. These Jamal Williams, these Tevin Coleman touches, who cares? And I applaud you for having the cojones to play Amon-Ra. And I like Amon-Ra, but I'm not touching a Lions receiver in this game.
I think he's a low-level flex.
I think there are offenses where, we say, he's going to get the volume. He's pretty talented, but some offenses aren't that good. I think you play TJ Hawkinson because, like you said, I think you have to. I think there aren't better options out there. You know what his floor is, but he has a decent ceiling given the potential volume. But it's really nothing that excites me in Detroit. I mean, it's DeAndre Swift, and then you're flipping a switch. I will point out, just for the sake of argument, that Josh Reynolds made his debut last week, and he did nothing. But he did play 90% of snaps right off the bat. It's not something that I'm going to play him. I'm not even throwing him as a dart throw in DFS. Or will I, Briley? But
no, I don't think you will.
It's something that if he does pop off, I mean, there's a reason for it. It's going to be that snap count. It's something we could be talking about next week. But I'm just going to point out now, you're not playing Josh Reynolds. I'm not playing any Lions receiver. I think that's more than enough Detroit Lions, even for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Bears. Let's go to the other side of the ball. We got the Bears lining up with Andy Dalton because Justin Fields is out with a rib injury. It was reported as a bruised rib. Now it's coming out that it's cracked ribs. I don't think he ever realistically had a shot in playing this game. They were trying to postpone it as long as they could. So, Andy Dalton's out there throwing to Darnell Mooney. No Allen Robinson, who's ruled out, I believe, as of 15 minutes ago. And then you got Dave Montgomery run the ball, Khalil Herbert behind him, Cole Kmet lining up at tight end. And outside of Dave Montgomery, because I don't think we need to waste too much time with Dave Montgomery being a top 6 play this week, top 10 play this week lock based on volume. I don't think anyone should be hesitant based on last week. I think he's going to get the rock today. I think he's going to run right through Detroit. But outside of that, I mean, are you playing Darnell Mooney with confidence?
Yes, I'm playing Darnell Mooney with confidence. He's proven several times that he's a very good wide receiver, and regardless of whether or not Andy Dalton's starting, I think Darnell Mooney's got it. Like last week, 16 targets. I mean, only 5 catches, but good God, that's a ridiculous target share. And when you're getting that kind of target share, you're guaranteed to put up some sort of numbers, especially again in a game that's going to be close. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the Lions leading this game. So I'm 100% playing Darnell Mooney as your wide receiver 3, and if he's your wide receiver 2, I mean, because of bye weeks or injuries or anything like that, that's not even that bad of an option.
Yeah, I think Darnell Mooney's a talented player. I think we're both in agreement on that. And if he has the target share, it's only going to help. The Lions have allowed 9 different receivers this season to post double-digit fantasy points against them. Andy Dalton seems to pepper Darnell Mooney at least. He didn't really look Cole Kmet's way, and Marquise Goodwin might be good for ripping one off, but that's about all he's going to go for. So it's the Darnell Mooney show and the Dave Montgomery show. You're not playing Andy Dalton if you can help it. I think we're all past streaming Cole Kmet. I think you can on the level of I have zero confidence, but maybe I have everyone injured. But I will toss this name out here because since you said TJ Hockenson before we had a little talk, but TJ Hockenson or Pat Freiermuth. Let's say Pat Freiermuth's on the wire. Would you pick up Pat Freiermuth and play him over TJ Hockenson?
Pat Freiermuth is a really good tight end, man. I've been watching him this year, and you always make fun and say that Pat Freiermuth is going to be one of the best tight ends in the draft class. And
make fun. I don't think I make fun at all.
With a tone in your voice, but I think he's super talented, and given the lack of depth outside Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Najee Harris, who's involved in the receiving game, I mean, he's it. Unless you count Ray McLeod's like 11 target performance a couple weeks ago, which was clearly an outlier game. I think he's one of the best red zone options outside of Chase Claypool, and that's tough. I think I would be willing to play him over TJ Hockenson just because of the offense. And that's it. But otherwise, I mean, unless I don't think Pat Freiermuth should still be on your waivers. He should have been picked up a while ago. But if he is, I think there's a real discussion to be had on whether or not you should play him over TJ Hockenson. I probably would.
Yeah, I probably would as well, especially with Eric Ebron dealing with his injury. But final quick question: yes or no? Who wins? Who wins this game?
I think the Bears win this game. I'm going to take the Lions to cover the spread. Last I checked, it was a 3-point spread. I'll see to it that this game is close, but I can't imagine the Bears losing this game because, like you mentioned, David Montgomery is a top 5 lock in this game, in my opinion. He needs to save Matt Nagy's job right now. If you put the ball in Andy Dalton's hands for 40 times a game or 40 passes a game, and he goes 25 for 40 and throws 2 picks, like Matt Nagy's done. So if David Montgomery doesn't rush for at least 100 yards in this game and doesn't score a touchdown, I'll be shocked, and I will be calling for Matt Nagy to be fired, even though I have no investment in the Bears at all.
Yeah, and the Bears will lose if Dave Montgomery doesn't. I think the Bears win. I think they win on the back of Dave Montgomery. But let's move on to the 4 o'clock slate for us, EST. 4 o'clock, the afternoon game. We got the Raiders and the Lions, the 5-5 Raiders taking on the 7-3 Dallas Cowboys. Did I just say I might have said the wrong name initially, but I don't know. So the Raiders are, trying to end a 3-game skid here after a hot start. The Cowboys have lost 2 games in November after a scorching 6-1 start. So the real story of this game is CeeDee Lamb. I mean, right now we're playing up to the wire of, is CeeDee Lamb going to play? Is he going to clear concussion protocol?
I have a report per Jay Glazer 4 minutes ago that CeeDee Lamb will not play. He did not pass the final step of concussion protocol, and he's not going to play today.
That's upsetting. But at the same time, I'm a little bit relieved just because I don't think if you can get concussed on Sunday, on Thursday, I think there's protocol. But good on. So there you go. CeeDee Lamb's out. So let's start on the Dallas side of the ball. I think we're playing. We don't have to talk about Zeke. We can lock in Zeke. Michael Gallup and Dalton Schultz. Are you playing? Or let's start with the receivers, Brand. Let's try to do this a little bit on a pace here. Michael Gallup and Cedric Wilson. Are you playing Michael Gallup or are you playing Cedric Wilson?
I'm playing Michael Gallup 100%. Like we've seen all year, he's even with a limited target share in that offense, he's been good with his targets. He's had some meaningful targets even in the red zone. And same thing with Dalton Schultz is he's been a very reliable tight end, a good chain mover for them. I'm playing both of them with confidence. Cedric Wilson, you could convince me to play as a DFS play. I'm not sure unless your team is really hurting with injuries and you need to pick someone off the wire right now, then Cedric Wilson is not the worst option. I would be avoiding playing him in a season-long lineup, but I think there's a case to be made for him to be in your DFS lineup.
Yeah.
I think that's I think that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where I lean as well. I think Michael Gallup should be in your lineup as a wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 2. This doesn't impact my ability to start Dak. It does hurt him a little bit. You can't act like Amari Cooper and CD Lamb are not huge absences for this lineup, but Michael Gallup should be in your lineup. I think Dalton Schultz is in your lineup regardless, but also as a result of, again, Cooper and Lamb being out. That's a big target share gone. So Dalton Schultz steps into that. Cedric Wilson, like you said, I agree. He might be a DFS throw. I think you could line him up as flex, but it's 0 points is the floor. So you know what you're getting out of Cedric Wilson, but he's also capable of those 25-point games. So DFS is a perfect fit. If you're up against the grain, I think you play him in your flex. And also, a very important reminder, Thursday games, do not put them in your flex. Put them in your actual wide receiver spot so you get that versatility on Sunday. Important Thanksgiving announcement there.
That's become a much bigger emphasis in fantasy than I ever could have imagined. Like, I used to think that was just kind of like a sly under the radar thing that the experts knew, but now it's like common knowledge. Like everyone knows.
Yeah. COVID made it more of a thing. I mean, because you can get COVID on Saturday and then all of a sudden you're out, and now you can only play a wide receiver and you can't, and you can't play a running back or a tight end. And flex is meant for flexibility, so why limit yourself? But I think the only other name we really need to talk to. Also, we didn't touch on. I think you play Chicago DST. Lock that in. You could do that. Dallas DST and Tony Pollard. Those are the two names we haven't talked about. Those are the two names we're debating. I'm currently looking at Tony Pollard versus T Higgins in one of my leagues, and I currently have Tony Pollard in. Zeke's coming off that knee injury. He's been practicing fully. Doesn't anticipate being a problem, but this is a game that could get out of hand. I don't predict it to, but I think Tony Pollard's a mainstay in this offense. He's a ridiculously talented player. Shout out to Jake Seeley. Tony Pollard is well worth your time. So I have Tony Pollard in my lineup as my RB2. I'm expecting RB20 to RB25 production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right there with you. And you asked me a couple of days ago whether you'd play Pollard or Higgins, and I said I'll confidently play Tony Pollard. I'm pretty hands off T Higgins for now, but Tony Pollard is such an important part of this offense. The passing game through the running backs, especially in a game without Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb, is a big part of their offense, and I don't imagine that going away anytime soon. Tony Pollard has commanded that passing down work over Ezekiel Elliott. Even though Elliott's been pretty involved in the passing game as well, it's been Tony Pollard. He's been better with his touches. So I'll project Tony Pollard to have 6 catches in this game. If he scores a touchdown, he could easily be a top 20 play. And if he has that big blow-up game that I think he's capable of, a top 15 finish as well within the cards.
Yeah, and also to add some positivity to all the injuries in Dallas, Tyron Smith makes his return this week, which is it can't be overstated the importance that all-pro left tackle Tyron Smith has to this offense. So I'd right again, beat Dak blindside will be very important. And that, again, helps the running game. It helps the dump downs. It helps the entire offense. They saw Dak got rocked last week without him. So that's a big name you come back to. I think we're both playing the Dallas defense based on what Trevon Diggs could do on any given week. While we're both in agreement that he's a liability in coverage, that won't matter for interceptions and fantasy and potential pick sixes. So, and Michael Parsons is really coming into his own. So why not line him out there? On the other side of the ball, we got the Raiders here. You know how I feel about Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is a QB 10 to 15 or QB middling QB 2. I mean, you can line up Derek Carr if you want. I think this Dallas defense has some teeth to it, and I'm not too enthralled with the weapons. Any disagreements there? Like that QB 16
no, not
range?
at all. I mean, I would maybe put him a little bit higher just because, like I've been saying for a long time, Derek Carr is really good at throwing the deep ball, and he can't throw anything else. I mean, he's really good at, like Zay Jones, and when he was healthy, he was ripping off some big plays. In the 2-minute drill and in the fourth quarter when they're desperately trying to mount a comeback, he'd throw some great deep balls to Bryan Edwards, and he had one to Deshaun Jackson for one time, and then Deshaun Jackson will probably never be heard from again. But yeah. I think Derek Carr could easily have a decent ceiling game. I think the offense makes him capable of that, and outside of Darren Waller, they have some pretty good deep threats on that team, like Bryan Edwards, like you've been saying for a long time. He's kind of that guy. Whether or not they realize it, and whether or not they give him those targets, I think he's that guy. And I think at any point, Derek Carr could rip off a top 10 QB finish. I'm not sure I would count on it against the Cowboys, but I think he's worth the play just because of that upside.
Yep. I mean, I'm Bryan Edwards. I love Bryan Edwards, but it's not happening with Derek Carr. I don't think Derek Carr trusts him. And I Bryan Edwards, or he doesn't fit this offense. Bryan Edwards is a contested catch guy. He's not getting those 50-50 balls that's where he thrives. So as of further notice, until we see something more, Bryan Edwards is out of your lineup. Zay Jones is not sniffing your lineup. Hunter Renfrow can play your lineup as a wide receiver 2 in PPR, wide receiver 3 in flex maybe, in half maybe. But Renfrow's been a pinnacle of stability in that offense. And Darren Waller's Darren Waller. You're still going to play Darren Waller. We don't have to debate that. We're fully expecting a top 5 production out of Darren Waller, probably top 3. So yeah, let's look at the running backs. Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake was really coming into his own once Gruden got fired, and now Kenyon Drake is not really doing too much. So are we expecting a bounce back for Kenyon Drake? Are we just rocking Josh Jacobs with RB2 expectations? What do you think?
I think given Kenyon Drake's recent usage, he should be totally off your board. I mean, since Gruden was fired, he's had less than 5 carries in a game. He had 8 targets week 9 against the Giants, but he hasn't sniffed anything like that since. That was by far his highest of the season. I think Josh Jacobs is the only back in this backfield you're willing to play, even though I would be pretty hesitant to play him just because of how bad this running game has been. I mean, the offensive line, even though it's been pretty solid in pass protection, it's not creating that push in the running game that we were expecting it to, especially after they sold off Trent Brown and a whole bunch of other pieces from their offensive line this season.
Yeah, I don't think you can really expect more than 10 points, 15 points max if he gets in the end zone for Josh Jacobs based on the volume and how important he is to the offense in terms of right now. He's outside with the exception of Darren Waller. I'd make the argument he's their best offensive player. I think you'd say it's Hunter Renfrow, but I'm going to say it's Josh Jacobs.
I would agree.
And they do try to get him the ball as a result, but I mean, Josh Jacobs has seen, he's caught the ball 4 or more times each of the last 3 weeks, which is not normal. But again, Gruden's gone. It might be a different offense. So I think you could play Josh Jacobs as a RB2, low-end RB2, but I don't think the ceiling's there this week.
Agreed.
Okay, let's head to the night game. Buffalo versus the Saints. Oh, boy. So Buffalo's trying to prove itself this week because Buffalo has yet to beat – or what? Buffalo's beaten one team over 500, I believe I put down.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so Buffalo needs to win this week. They were pretty embarrassed last week by the Colts. Meanwhile, the Saints, after a surprisingly strong start, has kind of crashed back to earth with Trevor Siemian under the helm. So 6-4, 5-5. They look even on paper, but they're really not too even. The Saints are really knocked up. But let's start with the Bills. I think we could run through this one somewhat quickly. You're playing Stephon Diggs, you're playing Josh Allen, push that aside. You're playing Dawson Knox, lock that one in unless you have one of the top 3. And then we could discuss Emmanuel Sanders and the running game. So Emmanuel Sanders, I'm actually anticipating a pretty strong game from Emmanuel Sanders. I think this is like when the Bills lost to the Jags. This is the opportunity for a bounce back. The Bills need to win this game so badly because they need to make a statement and they need to win next week, and then we need to wait to win the week after. So it starts here. Emmanuel Sanders, a bit of a revenge game against the Saints here. Stephon Diggs will be followed by Marshawn Lattimore, so that pushes him out of the equation. Emmanuel Sanders was solid before a bit of a no-show over the last couple of weeks, but I think this is a bounce back for Emmanuel Sanders as a flex play.
Mm-hmm. I think you've been playing Emmanuel Sanders as a flex play for a long time. I don't think that changes now, especially that like you said, the Bills are in desperation mode. I mean, they need wins and wins. The Patriots have passed them in the AFC East, and even though there are 2 more division showdowns between the Bills and the Patriots, they need those games on the Patriots if they want to win this division, like they did last year, and find their way deep into the AFC playoffs, like they did last year. And I think that was more than the expectation for them coming into this year. And if they underperform that, then there might be some questions about the dependability of Josh Allen, which I don't see, but have been floating out there and in recent weeks. And I think in order for this passing game to really hit its stride, Emmanuel Sanders has to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, they need another option outside of. I mean, they were also missing Dawson Knox in that span. That definitely hurt. But I mean, it's. I think Emmanuel Sanders is just going to be a solid play this week. He's been really shoddy the last 4 weeks. He only has 9 receptions since his bye week in week 7, which is not great, including a no-show in week 8. So I think this is where he gets a bit back on track. Gabriel Davis has started to flash a little bit more, but we're not going to – you're not playing Gabriel Davis or considering Gabriel Davis until you still see some stable volume. And that's the end of the Buffalo passing attack. So we could look at the rushing attack that everyone's been screaming about, trying to pick the right person, trying to say that, they need a rushing attack. Use this guy. And then they say, okay, it's Zach Moss time, and then it's Devin Singletary, and then it's Matt Breida. And recently it's been the latter. It's been Matt Breida. So what are you expecting? I've heard some rumblings from Joe Piscali of The Athletic that Zach Moss might be a healthy scratch this week. I think he got somewhat nicked up, but more importantly, I don't think he fits in the offense. I don't think he does what Breida and Singletary can do. So what are you expecting from this rushing attack?
But before the season, I was trying to acquire Matt Breida in Dynasty at a low price. You might have even find him on the waiver wire in some Dynasty leagues because, like we saw in San Francisco, which obviously is to be taken with a grain of salt because everyone in the San Francisco running game has home run hitting ability. But Matt Breida was one of the fastest running backs in the NFL. He exhibits that home run, that 80-yard chunk play ability like very few people in the NFL do. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him to continue to command this backfield. Devin Singletary is a one-cut back at best. He doesn't have that breakaway speed. And I was predicting before the season, I was like, why is no one paying attention to Matt Breida? I think, he could turn into a pretty solid third down back in this offense. And I think it's finally starting to happen for him.
Yeah, it's interesting because I really think it could be anyone at any given moment. The real question I want to pose here, because I mean, you got to stay water in fantasy. I want it to be Devin Singletary. I think he's the most talented of the trio. But I think Matt Breida is the guy. If you have to align one out there, I think Matt Breida has the hot hand. And you ride the hot hand. But let's put this in an exercise. Let's say all 3 are on the waiver wire. Which one are you picking up? And with the expectation of you're not playing them this week, but you're trying to see what happens next week. Because the Saints are also the hardest rushing defense in fantasy football right now. So all these guys, I'm not playing any of them. If I can help it, I'm not playing any of them. But if I'm picking up one to look forward to, who are you picking up?
I would pick up Matt Breida. I mean, like you said, he's the hot hand. And I've learned from last year when I had a just god-awful redraft here that ceiling matters. Ceiling matters more than anything in fantasy football. And I think Matt Breida has the ceiling that neither of the other 3 running backs will have. And ideally, this is the type of backfield that I would avoid entirely. I'm a huge believer in having workhorse running backs. I spent a lot of capital in our dynasty build up on J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Those are my first 3 picks. And even though that hasn't exactly shaken out the way I would want it to, I wouldn't change if I went back in time. So ideally, I would avoid the situation, but if I had to pick one, I would probably pick Breida.
Yeah, I think I tend to lean the same way. Buffalo DST kind of got thrown into the ground last week, but personally, I think I'm willing to forgive and forget. I'm going to line the Buffalo defense out there. And again, I am expecting a bit of a bounce back here, so that's where I lean. Are you playing either of these DSTs? Are you playing both?
I'll definitely play both DSTs. Like I said, they both have great ceilings, and we've seen the Bills defense put up crazy numbers this weekend or this season rather, and the Saints are capable of that as well. They could easily put up 3-4 sacks in any game. They could pick off Trevor Siemian a million times in this game. So I'm rolling with either defense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. And I want to also give a shout out to DJ. Thank you for the shout out to the girly jersey. That is always what I'm looking for. And we also have a question coming in. Perfect timing as well. Would you play devonta Smith or Michael Gallup in PPR? It's a good question.
I'm playing Michael Gallup. I think he's going to become not the alpha in that offense. He's going to become one of the first looks and one of the first reads in Dak Prescott's offense. And I think outside of the running backs, who again I think will be involved today, but in terms of that downfield threat that a CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper can very well be, I don't think Noah Brown is dependable. We saw him drop a lot of passes last week. Cedric Wilson maybe, but Michael Gallup is just by far the most dependable option past the line of scrimmage in that offense right now. So I'd play Gallup.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I'm going to go on the other end here and I'm going to be unhelpful and I'm going to say it's devonta Smith. Because devonta Smith has found devonta Smith. It's a season. He's found his stride. He's put up double-digit fantasy points in 3 straight weeks against tough matchups too. Week 9, the Chargers. That's Chris Harris. Week 10, Denver has a strong secondary. That's Pat Surtain, and he lit up Surtain. So, and then you had Marshawn Lattimore last week, where devonta Smith got it done. He has 4 receptions in each of those games, and now he goes and heads to New York. He plays the Giants, and the Giants got lit up by Mike Evans last week. Mike Evans beat James Bradbury. I'm going to see more of the same devonta Smith. I'm going to ride the hot hand here. Michael Gallup seemed like a safe play. I think it's fine, but I'm not going to tilt from devonta Smith here. I'm going to play the hot hand of somebody who's been very strong and the person I think is the better player as well, with no disrespect to Gallup.
I think devonta Smith is by far the better player. I've been banging the drum about his talent for a long time, but I'll still play Gallup. But I don't think you can go wrong with either.
I agree. I think both are strong plays. And to not forget the Saints, because I almost did. Yeah, I tried. I really tried, but that's actually an interesting point. So the Saints, we're not touching Trevor Siemian this week. I'm not trying to in QB2. I don't care. Then we have a tight end. Adam Troutman finally found his own. Was targeted 19 times heading into last week. Sprained his MCL. He's out for the next 4 to 6. So push that aside. I'm not touching Juwan Johnson, Nick Vannett. I'm not rolling that dice. Now, then you got Traequan Smith and Marquez Callaway. Marquez Callaway, pushing him to the side in the same tier as Zay Jones, something like that, where maybe something happens. I'm done with Marquez Callaway. It's over. Maybe he catches a touchdown, maybe he doesn't, but I'm not going to play someone like that. I'll play Noah Brown if I want to take that chance. Like, it's Marquez. I'll play MBS over both. Like, but again, that aside, Traequan Smith has been surprisingly solid based on the volume because again, there's no one else to throw to. So I think you can line up Traequan Smith as a flex, but I'm trying my best not to play any of them.
Mm-hmm. I think Deontay Harris is also deserving of some slight flex consideration. He's been solid over the past few weeks, and outside of that, Mark Ingram is questionable. Based on the reports I've seen, he'll play. So I think Mark Ingram is the only Saint I'm really confident playing in. Maybe Deontay Harris, but I would do everything I can to keep him on the bench as well.
So you're confident playing Mark Ingram because Mark Ingram's coming off a little bit of a knee. Picked up Sunday, haven't really practiced this week. Alvin Kamara's out, that's confirmed. You have Tony Jones coming off the IR the week prior, or maybe it was this past week, and that's about it. Dwayne Washington. So it's if Mark Ingram's out there, if he's healthy enough to play, he should get the rock, and I agree that I'd play him. But you have to don't fall asleep after eating turkeys today because there's a real world he's inactive. So you have to be able to, fight through the tryptophan and look at that Mark Ingram in your lineup. But I do agree. I know, right? But I do think you play him if he's out there for sure. Okay. Is there any other final thoughts on any of the games we have talked about, Riley?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm excited to see what you're rolling with in DFS today, and we'll play it by ear.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree. So then, without further ado, I know I did this last year, but with a little bit offline. So we're gonna take this online here, and we're gonna look at Thanksgiving foods. That's what Thanksgiving is about outside of obviously family. So food. What do you want on your plate? We're gonna do a little draft. I compiled a whole bunch of options here, as you can see, I believe. Yep. Okay. So we're going to go through it here. We're going to do a little draft. Riley is the first pick. I already messed up by lining this up improperly. Oh, no, I didn't.
There you go. I fixed it.
So, and on top of that, because, we're all inclusive here for fantasy's sake, we're going to also toss in a public draft. I put that in the chat. If anybody wants to check that one out, you could hop in, you could comment, you could look at it. Oh, nope, never mind. That is the incorrect link. I take that back. Never mind. That link will not work. Watch along. It's fantastic. We're off to a stellar start. Riley, you have the 101. We're gonna snake draft this. So you get 1, I get 2, 3, you get 4, 5. Keep going. So start it off. What's your 101 of Thanksgiving? We're making a plate here. All right. You're making a plate, drink, whatever's on the side.
So I mean, I know this is a hot take. This is not a hot take actually. You think it's a hot take, but this makes the Thanksgiving food right here. It's the gravy. You can't not have it. I was not gonna not have the gravy. The turkey without the gravy is nothing. So I need it. I gotta have it. Gotta have it.
The turkey without the gravy is nothing because apparently whoever's making turkey, with no disrespect to whoever it is not making the turkey correct. But I do agree that gravy works with everything on the plate, and that is something that most other foods can't do. So props there. However, you made a horrific mistake because it's almost over. I mean, as I mentioned at the beginning of this show, stuffing is the best thing ever. It's a mainstay at a Sicoli Thanksgiving. So stuffing's an easy pick, and then we're going to come right back around. We're going to get some mashed potatoes. With mashed potatoes, you can put some garlic in it. That's what I do. I put some garlic salt in it. It's unbelievable. My favorite part. And yeah, I'm incredibly happy with my start.
Yeah, it's a little bit upsetting. I wasn't going into this draft thinking I was going to play the board. I'm taking what I want on my plate, and
that's fair.
I wish I got stuffing. That I do agree with you that that's the best food, but let's look. I'm a big cheesecake guy. I'm gonna go with cheesecake. I'm not gonna let you take that from me, even though I know you're also not a huge cheesecake guy. But
again, I like cheesecake. Oh, cheesecake at Thanksgiving it's heavy, but it's a delight.
It's undefeated, totally undefeated. There's always room for it, no matter how you spin it. And I think I'm looking over the options right now to make sure I'm not messing up. But yeah, I'll take the turkey. Having it slip to the third round might be a little bit disrespectful, but I mean you can't go wrong. Even if you don't make it the right way and you need gravy on it, you gotta have it.
I don't think it's the wrong pick. I think it's funny that I think you need it and it also pairs with the gravy well, so I'll give you some props there. But I do think the fact that you were just complaining about it and then adding it to your roster does diminish the value of turkey. It does hold some symbolic strength there, so I'll give you some credit there. But I'm gonna lock in apple pie as my pick here. I've always been an apple pie guy over pumpkin pie. There's a good chance. Nope, I did put pumpkin pie as an option. Also, we're not going to go 10 rounds. Let's what do you want to go? What how many rounds do you want to go?
Let's do 6. Let's do 6 rounds.
That's a fine choice. Okay, so I got one more pick here. This is one that gets a little bit tougher for me. I think we just had a little teardrop with apple pie going off the board. Ah, man.
Big teardrop.
Big teardrop. I might double up on. Man, that is a tough one. And I should have came into this with more of a list, or I could just head downstairs and take a look. But I'm not going to think too hard about it. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm going to take something I always love, a champion. I'm going to take some apple cider. I'm going to double up on the apple.
I was really hoping you weren't going to take that. That was.
Let's go. Okay, you got to play
doubling up on the apple.
I'm going
to throw a flag on that. I don't think you can do that, but.
Oh yeah.
I need a side. I need a side badly.
You do need a side. You got a heavy plate right now. I'd be falling asleep already if I was eating yourself.
Totally fine. I'll make my plate 18 pounds of all just heaviness, and I'll be totally fine. And I'll find a way to eat it. And I go to my grandparents every year for Thanksgiving, and they bought like one of the big like factory grade styrofoam containers, like takeout containers of like 300 of them. And I've had it for like 10 years, and I take home a big container of Thanksgiving food every year. So as heavy as it can be, I'll take it. And
Fair enough.
Let's see. I need another side here. I'm gonna go with rolls. I'm a huge rolls guy. Put them up with some butter.
Yeah, no, I never have it here. Loaves of bread. We're Italian here at the Sicoli household. But yeah, no disrespect to dinner rolls for sure.
Little snowflake roll, cut in half, butter it up. Easy as pie.
Oh God. Oh. Okay. So I'm looking at my plate right now, and I'm coming up with my last 2 picks here. I need a protein. I do. So I'm looking at chicken. I'm looking at ham. I'm looking at lamb, and I'm looking at ham again. So it's really not thinking too hard on it. My protein is ham. I'd rather have turkey, but ham is always more of an Easter thing for me. So I don't really fully understand it. But if I had to choose one of the other ones, I need some meat on my plate here. If I'm eating this many carbs, I'll blow up and go up like a balloon. So no love there. So I'm looking at some other stuff. I think I have the versatility here to go with almost anything. So it's a tough one. I love stuffed mushrooms, but I feel like that might be doubling up on the stuffing a little bit. My mom makes amazing stuffed mushrooms. Shout out there. But I think I'm going to go with cornbread. I think cornbreads are really solid. I will also give an honorable mention to lasagna, which is not a Thanksgiving food for non-Italian households. However, it is a Thanksgiving food in the Sicoli household.
Yeah, I don't know who gave you this list here. I mean,
I made this list. I outsourced it. It was very well researched.
I'm gonna make my own definition of casserole right here. My grandmother makes like cheese and broccoli casserole.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I've heard of that. That sounds
good.
I'm
saying? Cheese and broccoli casserole. It's got to be in there. I was considering green beans because I needed a vegetable, and I knew I could wait to the last round to get one. But I'll rock with the cheese and broccoli. It's outstanding. The best way to get your vegetables is by covering them in something else. Even though I'm a green beans guy, I like the green beans with the slivered almonds. I'm all about it. But it's Thanksgiving. I'm not trying to eat green beans and slivered almonds. Give me something nasty. Give me something.
So
good.
You are going to drink the gravy, aren't you? You're going to drink the gravy. That's
a drink.
No, you don't need to. You don't need to. I say water's implied if you don't pick a drink. I'll say that. I'll say water's implied if you don't pick a drink.
I was gonna add my own impromptu round 7.
No, but no, but I'd say looking at this now, I am. Do you want to do a round 7? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna take a round 7 then.
Let's do a round 7.
My lasagna. How about that? I'll take my lasagna. You take your water. How about that? In non-bolded print, that's what you get for taking water and not apple cider. It's a huge error, a huge oversight.
Actually, no, I'm gonna take lemonade instead.
Okay, fine. Take lemonade. Those are our 2 drafts right there. I'm gonna plan on posting these out on social so you guys can vote on and see who had the better draft. I am surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised that no one took pumpkin pie. That feels like a staple of Thanksgiving. Feels like a staple of Thanksgiving. I never had it. I just don't like it. Same goes for sweet potatoes as well.
Don't like sweet potatoes.
Oh wait, sweet potatoes aren't heat. Wait, where's sweet potatoes?
No, it's there. It's all the way on the
right. Oh, it is. Sorry. Yes. But yeah, no, that's another one. I'm surprised those 2 didn't go off with you, but neither of them are really my foods. So fine by me. So that's our draft. You got our 2 teams right there, and we'll post them out there for you guys to vote on. So again, where to find that. You can follow me on Michael __ Sicoli. If you just look on Michael Sicoli, it'll probably come up. On Twitter, you can follow Riley Millette. Say it.
Riley _Millette with 1 underscore because I wasn't too late to get my username on Twitter.
Yeah. We're not all as cool as Riley Millette over there. So that's going to be it for our show today. I want to thank you guys for tuning in on Thanksgiving. Great way to start your morning, I hope. This was brought to you by For Fantasy's Sake. Again, some great content for fantasy football from myself, from Nick Roll, who's normally my host, and everyone at the team at For Fantasy's Sake, QC.com. This show was also brought to you by the Mobile Party Experience, a great way to tailgate. So that's going to be this show. I want you guys to all enjoy your food. I want you guys to enjoy your family. I want you guys to be thankful. I want you guys to enjoy football, even if the slates are pretty underwhelming. Any final remarks, Riley?
I think I'll have some fun with the Raiders-Cowboys game. I'll have some fun with the Bills-Saints game. I will pay minimal attention to the Bears-Lions game. It's both those teams always play on Thanksgiving. It just comes with the territory, but otherwise, I think it'll be a decent football day.
All right, that's all we can hope for. So thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy your food. Enjoy the day. Happy Thanksgiving. Thankful for you guys for tuning in. Have a good one.